Hi guys, today we're going to graph quadratics in intercept form. When we're done, you're going to be able to review over how to graph and identify the key parts of a parabola when it's given to you in intercept form. Remember, another version name for that is factored form, and we're also going to learn how to create an equation in intercept form. Your vocabulary is really just a review of needed formulas and parts of the quadratics. So make sure you copy all these down, or if you have your cheat sheet handy, you may not even need to do that. The intercept form is given. Remember, P and Q represents the zeros or the solutions, the x values of the function. They are the x-intercepts. And then the quick, easy way to find the axis of symmetry is to take those two values, add them together, and divide it by 2. Average them, and you'll have the value of the axis of symmetry. Okay, let's begin by reviewing finding the key parts of the parabola and graphing it from intercept form. Most of us are really good now at looking at the factors and being able to just name the solutions, name the intercepts. So let's go graph those. X equals 3, x equals -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's correct. Let's find the axis of symmetry. Many of you just count halfway to the middle, but remember you can use the formula which averages the two numbers. So if you do that quickly, you'll get -1.5 for your x value. That's your axis of symmetry. I'm not going to dot my line all the way down through there, but that would be halfway in between. That's where the axis of symmetry line is. If you have a graphing calculator, you could go find your vertex there, but also we can find it by hand. In fact, on this particular one, you would have to do it by hand because it does not show up on the table as it is a fraction. So let's do it the old-fashioned way and plug in -1.5 for x. So the equation is y equals x minus, we're going right here, up here, x minus 3 times x plus 6. Let's put in that -1.5 for x. So -1.5 minus 3 times -1.5 plus 6. Use your calculator. The math here gives you a -4.5. This one gives you actually a +4.5. Your y value is -20.25. We just found your vertex. We plugged in -1.5 for x. We got out -20.25. Now, on this particular graph, obviously that's way down off of our graph, so we can't really show it. So I'm going to put a point down here. Pretend that's -20.25. And with 3 points, that is enough to get a sketch of the graph. Okay, so that was all reviewed. Let's move on to our next example of what we need to learn new today, of how we can actually write an equation. So here's a new type of problem for us. We need to be able to write the intercept form of an equation given the zeros, and in particular we would need this other point that the graph goes through, and you'll see why we need that in just a minute. So since we need intercept form, let's write intercept form out. So straight off of your cheat sheet. P and Q are just representations of your x-intercepts. So that would be a good place to put those numbers in. So let's do that much. Y equals A, and let's go ahead and do the change the sign deal, and that would become x minus 2 for that first one, and x plus 2 for the second one. Now, the reason this 0, 3 is going to be helpful because if the graph goes through that, we can use those as an x value and a y value, and that will come in handy right here, because we need to be able to write the entire equation, which means we'll need a value for A, and the only way to find that is to have values for everything else and work it out. So let's see what we've got. Let's go y is 3 equals, we do not know A, and x is 0. 0 minus 2, 0 plus 2. Let's do the math. -2, +2 times A equals 3. Math doesn't turn out to be so bad. That's -4, and -4 times A. Let's go ahead and write it in the way we'd like to see it. And there's just one step left to solve. Divide by your -4. And you have a value for A. A equals -3/4. Now that you have that, here's the easy part. Go right back to this line And now instead of replacing y's and x's that we have underlined, let's just replace the a, leave the y's and x's, and we will have an equation in intercept form. So y equals a times x minus 2x plus 2. All we need to do is substitute in for a now. We have an a value. So let's write y equals negative 3/4 times x minus 2 times x plus 2. And we are done. That is an equation written in intercept form. Example 2 is the exact, example 3 is the exact same thing. They would like us to write an equation in intercept form, but you may be wondering, well, wait a minute, they didn't give us the intercepts or another point. That can be easy to find though. The intercepts are right here, and as far as another point, you can pick any other point that the graph goes through. Usually it's a great idea to pick one that it seems to go exactly through, so you're not dealing with fractions. So I'll go with that one. So our intercepts are x equals negative 6, I believe. No, negative 7. I can't see. And x equals negative 3/4. And another point can be any point. Like we said, I happen to pick this one that I drew in black. There would also be one maybe over here. It looks like it goes right through there. And then there's not another one showing up right there. So pick something easy from your graph picture. The point I have picked is negative 3, 1. Okay, let's do the same thing we did on the previous example. Let's write intercept form. But let's go ahead and put in our x equals negative 7 and x equals negative 4. A negative 7 for an intercept means it came from an x plus 7. And the negative 4 means it came from an x plus 4. Okay, we are ready to plug in some x and y values so that we can solve for a. Y is this value from our other point. X is this value from our other point. So we'll begin with y equals 1 equals, we don't know a, and let's put negative 3 in for x. Do your math. You have a 4, you have a 1, you have an a equals 1. For a, divide both sides by 4, and you will end up with a equals 1/4. We have found a, which means we're basically done. Now you want to go take that a value, put it right there, keep your x's and y's, but substitute 1/4 in for a, and you have written your equation. Y equals 1/4, x plus 7, x plus 4. Easy. For example 4, the only other thing we could be asked to do is come up with intercept form, but then change it to standard form. So these two equations here could be examples of answers we've gotten from our previous problems we've just worked, where we've come up with the intercept form ourselves. All we need to do is do some simplifying on the math, and we can turn it into standard form, which, just as a reminder, has the three terms ax squared plus bx plus c. It is a trinomial. So you may do the box method, the distributing method, FOIL method, whatever you choose. I'll show the distributive method quickly. And this would give you x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 15, which cleans up to be x squared minus 2x minus 15. Ta-da, standard form. Not as hard as it sounded. Down here, the only additional part would be taking care of that 2. But first, do your distributing or your box method. You will come up with this, so leave the 2 sitting there. I won't show my work, but when you clean up your box method or distributing, you should have x squared plus 6x plus 8. And then the only step after that is to distribute the 2 to each term so that we have true standard form. And you will be left with y equals 2x squared plus 12x plus 16. That is it. Let's see what else we might Please, if you need to, come in for help, watch additional videos as resources, or go back and rewatch this video.